Okay. Everyone ready for a business meeting? I hope so. I don't know what that sounds like with a microphone. I hope it wasn't too bad. But in any case, friends, welcome. I call our meeting to order as the 2015 annual business meeting of the Mid-America region. Let's take a quick look at our agenda. I hope this is not the first quick look you've taken at it. Okay, we're beginning with the call to order. We've done that, and opening words, which we will do momentarily. I'll be presenting a brief introduction to the Mid-America region. We'll be welcoming our new Mid-America congregations. We'll receive a credentials report and certify that we have indeed achieved a quorum for this meeting. We'll approve rules of order. We'll receive a report from our nominating committee and conduct an election of Mid-America trustees and officers, as well as Midwest UU Conference trustees and nominating committee members for the Mid-America region. Now, here's the part where I have to ask your cooperation. I hope this will be an easy thing to ask you for. Somewhere between the official posted preliminary version of the agenda and the official posted final version of the agenda, we inadvertently dropped something off the agenda. We did not vote as a board to remove it from the agenda, but we sort of lost it in the word processing experience. So without objection, I'm asking that we include an item which doesn't appear on your agenda. It would appear as item 6.5, which is between 6 and 7, obviously. And that's a short expression of appreciation from our Unitarian Universalist Association. So I have a card raised. Now, is that an objection?
It's a second.
It's a second. I don't even want it. I'm just saying without objection. So if you have an objection, I can't even see you with these bright lights, to tell you the truth. And, well, I won't go into my vision. But if anyone has an objection, raise your card now, please, and then we'll vote on it if we need to do that. So now if any of you see a card raised that I don't see, please help me out, yell or something. I'm not seeing any cards, and seriously, I actually have a cataract condition, and these bright lights are sort of like diminishing my ability to see some people. So seriously, if you see cards raised or something that I don't see, shout out, because that will help me. Okay, I'm seeing no cards. Thank you so much for your cooperation. We'll have a short report from our Unitarian Universalist Association, then we'll return to the regularly scheduled final agenda, which includes discussion and action on the proposed Mid-America Region Learning Network Covenant. I hope this is not the first you've heard of that, but if it is, you have materials that describe it. And then a report on changes proposed by the UUA board in terms of how regions and districts are recognized in the UUA bylaws. That's a report for your information and the information of your congregations. We will recognize some congregations in our association who have done some wonderful things this year. We will recognize people completing their service to the Mid-America region. We will have closing words and adjournment. So, having said that, where am I? Okay. I invite you to join me in a brief reading as our opening words, and I ask Doug Cobble, our Vice President, to come forward and light our chalice as we do this. I'd like to ask you to read with me the purpose of the Mid-America region. If you have a final agenda in front of you, it appears roughly mid-page. And so let's read. The purpose of the Mid-America region is to support, enrich, and extend Unitarian Universalism in the defined geographic area. The region shall work in collaboration with the Unitarian Universalist Association. That's what we're here for today, folks. Thank you. Great. Welcome, friends, to Mid-America. You may recall that 2 years ago, our 3 predecessor districts, Central Midwest, Prairie Star, and Heartland, voted overwhelmingly in favor of forming this region and disbanding themselves as separate districts. Some of you may also recall that last year we had a regional assembly, And we had it in 4 separate places at once. Some of us were in Topeka, Kansas. Would you raise your hand if you were one of the Topeka folks? Thank you. Some of us were in Wausau, Wisconsin, and those folks might raise their hands. Some of us were in Bloomington, Indiana, and those folks. And some of us were in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Okay. Well, as you know, today we're all of us here together. And this is the first time that we've had an official regional assembly in one place all together. Welcome. Our Mid-America board felt that we should celebrate this as a reminder of who we are as Mid-America and as an introduction to ourselves as a collective body. So on the screen, you can see a very simplistic, graphics are not my strong point either, a very simplistic map of what Mid-America looks like. And within this area, we hold the flame of Unitarian Universalism. We hold it from the Kentucky bluegrass to the Badlands of the Dakotas. We hold it from the chill waters of Lake Superior down to the junction of the mighty Mississippi and the large and vibrant Ohio River. We hold it from the wooded hills of the Upper Peninsula to the plains of Kansas. Mid-America is a constellation of almost 200 Unitarian Universalist congregations, the spiritual homes of 29,000 adult members and almost 10,000 youth and children. The geographical areas of Mid-America is also home to other UU organizations, including state advocacy networks, organizations of professionals who serve our congregations, Unitarian Universalist camps, leadership schools, campus ministries, Meadville Lombard Theological School, and other UU organizations. Mid-America is a staff team consisting of 6 highly qualified consultants and 3 very good support personnel. Mid-America is an autonomous geographical unit of the Unitarian Universalist Association, governing itself, embodying the democratic process, which is why we're having this annual business meeting. Mid-America is all of these things, but it is more than these things. Mid-America is the whole, and we know that the whole can be more than the sum of the parts. Mid-America is a recognition that Unitarian Universalism can be and should be something beyond what it is today. It's an acknowledgement of the potential present within our faith movement to transform lives, communities, and even a region. Mid-America is an aspiration to embody the potential more completely, and in doing so, to create a new era in Unitarian Universalism. Mid-America is an intention and a commitment to continue the good work that has been done in the past and to serve as a catalyst for greater interconnection, innovation, and impact. Mid-America is us and all of our congregations and our other UU organizations that are present here at this regional assembly. Today, let us move forward together. Let us take the next steps on the journey toward creating that new era. Friends, we are Mid-America. Before I go to the next slide, I'd like to ask the Reverend Harlan Limpert, who is the UUA's Chief Operating Officer. He's the person who Peter Morales tells to get things done. And then within the organization, Harlan has the joy of working with a number of other people who are responsible to him to make sure that Peter's requests materialize as best they can. I'm sure that that's an interesting role to play. Harlan describes himself as the luckiest person in the world because he has a role at the UUA that combines his 20 years of experience in the business world with his love for our congregations and our ministry. Please welcome Harlan. Now, this year in Mid-America, now it's time. Okay, great. This year in Mid-America, we're happy to welcome, recognize, and celebrate 5 new congregations. Yes. Some of you may remember that GA welcomed 2 new congregations last year. not RA, GA. So as I name each new congregation, I'd like to ask the representatives of that congregation to rise in place where they are. I'd like to ask them to remain risen, either in spirit or in body. If it's more comfortable to rise with your hands or your delegate cards, that's great. But I'm going to ask the five of each group to remain risen until they're all five standing so that we can welcome them all as one body. Okay? Thanks. The first one we'd like to welcome is the Iowa Lakes UU Fellowship in Okoboji, Iowa. Do we have representatives of Okoboji present? All right. Our next one is the Beacon UU congregation in Troy, Michigan, formed from the merger of two previous congregations, Paint Creek UU congregation and Emerson UU Church. We have people standing, I think. Okay. Okay. So if it's okay, you can stay up. Otherwise, okay, it's not working that way. Let's thank these people, each of them. You know how it is. You get an idea when you're working on this by yourself, and then you're in a room with 400 other people, and it just works different. It's okay. Our next one is the UU Badenoch Fellowship in Escanaba, Michigan. I hope I pronounced that name right. We have folks from Badenoch? Yeah? Anyone from Escanaba present? Again, my vision makes it hard for me to tell. Okay, welcome. Our meeting is being live streamed, so they might be with us even if they're not here in the room. And I need to remind us all of that. So we're hoping they're with us. The St. Croix Fellowship in St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin, is our next new congregation. That's near. Over there, yeah. And we got one more, the Open Door Fellowship in Owensboro, Kentucky, right here. It's wonderful to have each of you and each of your congregations with us. We're so happy to welcome you. And Harlan's going to say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. Following up on Bill's comment that Peter Morales comes up with these big ideas and big visions, and then he'll turn to me and say, Harlan, make it so. 8 weeks ago, I participated in a worship service at the United First Parish Church in Quincy, Massachusetts, also known as the Church of the Presidents. Has anyone ever been there? Okay, quite a few people actually. John Adams and John Quincy Adams and their wives were all members of that congregation, and all four are entombed within that church. United First Parish recently celebrated their 375th anniversary. Six weeks ago, I participated in worship in one of the latest and greatest UU communities, the sanctuaries in Washington, D.C. It's about 2 years old. The truth is, the Association of Congregations we call the Unitarian Universalist Association need both. We need the older, established, historic congregations with the traditional worship services and profound ties to the past, and we need the newer, vibrant breakout congregation, breakout of the mold communities that are really defining what it is and what it means to be a congregation in a thoughtful, covenanted community relationship in the modern world. We need them both. The 5 congregations we are welcoming into the Unitarian Universalist Association in the Mid-America region today represent a new era in Unitarian Universalism. They are, in fact, shepherding in this new era. They are the first applicants to membership where the documents that they submitted did not read like some administrative submission, documents that were merely filled out to fulfill some bureaucratic requirement that institutions are so well known for creating. But in fact, their applications for membership describe what it means to be a religious community in the spirit of the faith that we love so much. And that's a marvelous thing. On behalf of the 1,048 congregations that make up the Unitarian Universalist Association, I welcome each of you into this larger faith. I promise, on behalf of our association, our support, our respect, and our love. Congratulations.
Having worked with a few new congregations as they formed myself, I want to thank the leaders of those congregations for their dedication to creating something where there wasn't something there before. Those of us who come into established congregations may not have a sense of how many questions there are that don't have established answers when you're starting a new congregation. As a matter of fact, sometimes you don't even recognize that there's a question there when you're starting a new congregation, but the leaders of these congregations have worked their way through enough of those questions that they have found a common sense of identity and community that has blossomed into these congregations. The Beacon congregation was formed through a merger, and at the Mid-America region, we know something about mergers. And believe me, I do. And sometimes that's a different form of a challenge, a question not only of how do you put two legal institutions together, but far more importantly, how do you put two communities together in a good way, and how do you find the best of the cultures that they bring. So I congratulate, on behalf of the Mid-America region, the leaders of all of our new congregations. Let's give those leaders a hand. Thank you. Now that we have welcomed our new congregations, I'd like to invite our Mid-America Region Secretary, Eric Huffer, to come forward and present our credentials report such that we can determine whether we have achieved a quorum for this meeting. And the quorum stuff is up there on the screen.
Good morning. So I'm happy to report that all 13 states of the region are represented by delegates here. 92 congregations are represented by delegates here, and there are 235 delegates in attendance. That is out of 453 registered to be attendees here. So over half of our attendees are here as delegates. So I find that exciting.
With that information, I affirm that a quorum exists and that a quorum has been existing since the beginning of this meeting. Yeah, this Robert's Rule stuff is fascinating. Our next agenda item is almost equally exciting. It's the approval of the rules of procedure for this meeting. And if you have an online delegate packet, one of the ones that was, the full delegate packet is online. There's a short version of the delegate packet, which is handed out here. The short version has the rules of procedure as a handout, and we may have some extra handouts if you didn't get, if you got it early before we got the handout in. We had to copy some of those this morning. If you have the full version that you downloaded from online, then you have the rules of procedure. So I'm going to ask our Vice President to make the appropriate motion for adoption of the rules of order.
Good morning. I hope everybody has read the rules of procedures. They were stuffed in the delegate packet, and we passed copies around. Hopefully you've had a chance to read it. And as recommended by the Mid-America Region Board of Trustees, I would move to adopt these rules of procedures as presented.
Do we have a second? I see a second, great. And I'm not going to worry who it is, but I saw it, and I hope you all did too. Thank you. Is there any discussion of the rules of order? Great, let's vote on them. I hope everyone has one of these bright yellow or orangish. There's two different colors that are just about the same. But they actually signify slightly different things, professional delegates versus member delegates, if you're wondering. So if you have your delegate card ready, we'll be ready to vote. Would all in favor of adoption of the rules of order as presented, please raise their cards? Thank you. That's a lot of people. Good. Would anyone opposed please raise their cards? Okay, I think I see one card back there. Oh, somebody just put it down. Good. Okay, I don't see any. So we have adopted the rules of order. Thank you very much. Great. Okay, the motion carries. And now I invite Tammy Lemmer, who is the chair of our Mid-America Region Nominating Committee, to come forward and present the report of our nominating committee. And let's give Tammy a hand, because she has done a great job over the last 2 years.
Thank you, President Sasso. Good afternoon. Is it still morning? Whatever. Glad to be here. I'm actually not going to read the entire report. Delegates, you did receive it in your full packets. It's also still online on the Mid-America web page. But one thing I did want to highlight is we, as the nominating committee, we are an elected body, elected by you all as delegates. And our role is to help identify leadership to serve in the various elected committees and bodies throughout the Mid-America region. And that includes our Board of Trustees, it includes the nominating committee. It also includes a body called the Midwest UU Conference, which handles some fiscal issues. And then we also actually help identify and recommend for appointment a representative to the Camp Unistar Foundation board. So we have a lot to do. We're a pretty busy group, so I would actually like to thank my committee. And most of us are here today. Eric Huffer from UU Church of Lexington, Kentucky. Oh, no, sorry, wrong list. Those are the nominees. My committee is Reverend Barbara Child. She's actually active with the Church of the Larger Fellowship and lives in Nashville, Indiana. If you'd like to stand up, Barbara. Kate Daniels from Quincy Unitarian Church in Quincy, Illinois. She's here somewhere. Oh, there she is in the back. Yay. Case DeWitt from the UU Congregation, Fort Wayne, Indiana. And Rob Galgi, I'm not sure if you made it in today, but we thank you. He's from the Carbondale Unitarian Fellowship in Illinois. And Jim Laughlin from the UU Society of Iowa City, Iowa. I would like to thank my committee for all of their wonderful hard work. So thank you. So now on to the actual business. There seem to be a lot of moving parts. I mean, some of us have been involved with creation of the slate from the original merger of the districts into the region, and we're really, really thankful for the early leaders of the region who took those slots, and there's been a lot of change, a lot of transition, wonderful leadership, so I thank you to everybody who's been involved. We actually had a couple of different vacancies and appointments that needed to happen. Per the bylaws, our Board of Trustees is charged with filling vacancies by appointment. But we, the nominating committee, really appreciate the cooperation of the board in involving us in that process. It helped us know potential candidates for not only these vacancies in what needed to be filled by appointment, but also gave us the opportunity to think long-term in terms of transitions, continuing terms perhaps when appropriate. And we just, again, thank the board for their willingness to involve us and recognizing the important cooperation that occurs in that process. So with that being said, I do want to make note of the addendum that was put out to the original slate. Because of a vacancy off of the board did appoint Doug Cobble, who was an existing trustee on the board, and appointed him to fulfill an unfinished vacancy for the term of vice president. That appointment happened, which is why he's helping in that official capacity today. The way our bylaws are written, they're a little unclear. So the board, in conversation with the nominating committee, decided, well, we would put in the official slate that from the start of today through the official end of the term, which is technically July, we're reaffirming and voting him in and making sure that he's still official and has all the duties of his position. And then in doing that and moving Doug up into the vice president slot, we created another vacancy. So we actually, the nominating committee had identified David Loff as a potential candidate for trustee, and he very willingly agreed to move into that position a little early. So he too will officially take his position, filling the vacancy effective immediately and running through July. And then he is on the slate for a full uninterrupted term, effective July 1st. So that's more background and detail than you probably needed to know. But I'm the kind of person that I like to know sort of the ins and outs and how things happen, and wanted to share that with you. So there was no confusion about, well, why are they on the slate a couple different times, and when are they starting and why? And so that's that. So officially, our slate today, and I think we have some slides. We do have Doug on the slate for the position of vice president. We have David, as I mentioned, starting a mini term, effective immediately, for a term of trustee at large. We have Eric Huffer, current member, current trustee, moving into the, or current secretary rather, moving into the position of president. Doug then will take the official new term starting July 1st. Reverend Dawn Cooley is going to be a new member of the board, serving the position of trustee. Kyrie Block, she's a current, pardon me, currently serving as a trustee and is moving into the position of secretary to fill Eric's unexpired term since he's moving into president. Ellen German, who's taking a new position as trustee. And David again with his new full term starting in July. So appreciate everybody's willingness to serve. The committee, the nominating committee's commitment was to continue as much momentum, longevity, et cetera. There's been so much change, so much transition. We really felt a commitment to keep some experienced board members on the board, which again resulted in some shuffling. But we appreciate everybody's willingness to serve, willingness to change positions in some positions or some individual situations, and certainly welcome the new members of the board. I will continue with the nominating committee because we are presenting the slate as a whole. So I am pleased to identify Robert Gillegly. He was actually appointed this summer to fill a vacancy on the nominating committee, so we have slated him to start a new full term. And we have me. This will be, will be the start of my second full term. And Brian Bach from Black Hills UU Fellowship. He will be a new member of our committee starting effective July 1st. Then we have, as I mentioned, the Midwest UU Conference, and our two nominees to fill those positions are Alan Lindrup from First UU of Chicago, local. I don't know, Alan, I should have had these individuals stand up. But, so Alan, I'm sure, is here. There we go, thank you. Should I? Sorry for the typo there. And are the other candidates that I mentioned, anybody here would like to stand up and wave? Michael, thank you. Michael May is here, our MUC candidate. And then anybody else that I missed? I apologize, I should have had you stand as saying names. Ellen, wonderful. There's Kyrie. Thank you all very much. And that is our slate, and I'll hand the gavel back over to President Sasso. And as I'm leaving, I should say, I also want to thank the outgoing members of the board, nominating committee, and MUC. They are listed in the report, but President Sasso, former Vice President Charlotte Preston, member at large Cynthia Landrum for their service on the board, Vicki Trott and Nancy Armstrong for their service on the Midwest UU Conference, and Jim Laughlin, who's an outgoing member of the nominating committee. Thank you all for your service.
Now, given that our bylaws provide other options besides nomination by the nominating committee, there's a nomination by congregational action option, and we did not receive any nominations by congregational action, so I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the slate of candidates as proposed by the nominating committee. So moved, great. I see lots of yellow cards. And since there were lots, we don't need a second because one of those must have been the second one up. Okay. Okay, who made the motion? Let's see, somebody, who is? Kathy Burek of Michael Servetus congregation in Fridley, Minnesota, is that right? Okay, and who was the second? I saw, Janet Nordstrom, First Unitarian Milwaukee as a second, thank you. So, if you're ready to vote, I'd encourage you to get your delegate card ready. Good. All in favor, please raise your cards. Okay, that's a lot of cards. That's good. Okay, please put your cards down. Would anyone oppose? Please raise your card. Or cards, if you have. You shouldn't have more than one. Okay, I don't see any, which might mean there aren't very many. Okay, I'm getting a sign from the back that says there aren't any. So I declare that the slate of candidates as presented by the nominating committee has been elected by this. Thank you very much. Thanks to those who have served, those who will serve, and those who continue to serve. Okay. Addendum to the report.
Yeah, sorry, as I was naming committee members, someone else who wasn't here, and I apologize that I did not acknowledge her, but Deanne Pryor has also been a member of the committee for the past year and appreciate her service as well. Thank you.
Thanks to Deanne. Thank you, Tanner. Now we come to the point where we added, without objection, a brief statement of appreciation from our Unitarian Universalist Association for the support that it receives from our congregations. I'd like to ask Nick Cable of the UUA Stewardship and Development Office to come forward and present that.
It is so good to be with you all on behalf of Peter Morales and the entire Unitarian Universalist Association. This is a beautiful site of new beginning, and one of these new beginnings, without a doubt, is a new way of thinking about our financial interrelationships with one another, of these new beautiful covenants that we're creating in Mid-America. So I'm just going to take a couple minutes, and I'd be happy to talk with people afterwards about how generosity truly is the heart of all spiritual practice. And all of you are here for me to say thank you today. So regional giving in 2014 is what we're talking about very briefly today. We can see that 63% of our congregations were honor congregations last year. That means that you gave at the level that we have set for what we consider being an honor congregation. So we're very deeply grateful for all of your congregations who commit to giving fully to the APF contributions. One of the, I think, particularly magical things is how many 25-plus honor congregations there are. That's 25 consecutive years of giving to the UUA at honor congregation level, and that's something to be very grateful for, and I hope that you know who you are, and you can also come and ask me if you want to know if it's you. But we're very grateful for that ongoing commitment. And there's also many of you, 45 congregations, who are at that 10 level, 10-plus year congregational giving at honor congregation, which is nothing to sneeze at. It is a deep joy to have that commitment. And 31 congregations who are also honor congregations making that journey to 10 and 25 and onwards. And all we can say at the UUA is how grateful you are to be able to see this movement as something much stronger when we're together, when we give to our greater movement, whether to our local cluster, to our region, and to our association, which serves our wider faith in the world. Mid-America is about leadership and growth. This is what it has been in these years to come today, and it is what is becoming in the years to come. 6 of our congregations are in the top 50 giving congregations based on dollar amounts in our entire movement, and that is a deep joy and gratitude for all who are those leadership congregations. And this is of all the pieces I'm most grateful for are the 19 congregations who are merit congregations. These are people who have a plan of moving towards honor congregations. They're not there yet, but they deeply believe in their heart that part of their mission, part of their vision and their destiny is to be an honor congregation. And so these are people who have given a 20% increase from the previous year and are on their way. And I appreciate those congregations and those who are considering that as you approach your perhaps congregational meetings this month or next and in the years to come. Thank you very much. And I think it shouldn't be underestimated just how much money you support with your contributions through congregational giving. Over $1 million has been supported to make things like this possible, to have amazing regional field staff, some of the best in the country, if not the best, as someone born in Milwaukee and grew up with Dory and a lot of these people as mentors to me in my upbringing. Don't underestimate how we make beautiful things happen. It's because of your generosity, your grace in supporting our wider movement, and that trickles everywhere from the UUA to Mid-America to helping that congregation who's having a tough time this fiscal year. Thank you deeply for that. And those direct services to your region is just shy of $72,000, and that is one great example of this regional assembly being possible. So thank you so much for that. And I think I have one more. And on behalf of Bill Weller, Congregational Giving Director, and the UUA, we're deeply grateful for each of you in your support of the APF program. And I'd be happy to speak with people after the business meeting today in the back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick, and let me add my thanks on behalf of the Mid-America region for the work that, the generosity of our congregations in supporting both our region and our larger association. The Mid-America Board has asked me to present the next item myself and to speak on behalf of it, so at this point I'm going to turn the chairpersonship of the meeting over to our Vice President so that I can speak on behalf of the proposal.
What a quick rise to power. I've got the gavel. On page 11 of your delegate information is information on the Learning Network Covenant. And I hope you've had a chance to review that. I recognize Bill Sasso to the microphone and invite him to move adoption of our Learning Network Covenant. Bill?
I'm Bill Sasso, delegate from the Carbondale Unitarian Fellowship in Carbondale, Illinois, and on behalf of the Mid-America Region Board of Trustees, I move adoption of the Learning Network Covenant as presented on page 5 of the online delegate packet and on page 11 of the handout delegate packet that you may have picked up here at Regional Assembly.
We have a motion? There's a second. We have a motion and a second. Thank you. Is there further discussion? You're okay. Bill would like to discuss.
Let me say a few words about why. This is an invitation from the Mid-America Region Board to join us in envisioning what Mid-America can become, where we can go beyond where we are today. This is an opportunity to envision what's new in the new era, or at the very least, what we can make new in the new era. Where did this thing come from? Well, I hope it's not new to all of you, because if you were at Regional Assembly last year, whatever site you were at, I hope you were able to hear my discourse, which probably was longer than it needed to be, on why we're going to do this, talking about how we had been building a foundation and now it was time to figure out what structure to build on top of that foundation. How much of what we had done in the first year of Mid-America was really fairly unexciting institutional framework stuff, literally mergers and acquisitions. And it turned out that then, once we had that work done, we had exciting work to do in terms of envisioning the future. There's on page 9 of the online version of the packet, or on page 15 of the handout version, there's a diagram that shows you the process that the board went through. This originated in a board staff conversation. The board itself discussed it. It was shared as a concept with the delegates last year at Regional Assembly. Then we put an online version up for your review and comment. A number of you sent in comments and reviews and suggestions. We conducted a couple of webinars last summer. We revised the materials based on your feedback from those. I'm sorry, I always do this. I talk to one side of the room, I forget the others. And then we put a revised version up last September. Really didn't receive much feedback via email, but we did some webinars in January where we got more feedback and answered questions. So it's a process that we've been through, which you have been part of the development of this. So, thank you. I encourage you to vote in favor of this, but I want you to know that it means something. Do you want to know what it means? Okay,
you,
very briefly.
Cindy.
Is that okay?
You
I'm
may, you may.
thank you.
Your 2 minutes are up, but
Okay.
we will allow you to speak a
Yeah.
little longer.
Okay. Well, briefly, it means that you as delegates are affirming this as something that Mid-America should do, but it also means that you as delegates, if you vote in favor of this, are joining the covenant. You're putting yourself into this with some level of commitment. There's a little discussion of what that might mean in the packet of materials itself. But it means at the very least that you'll take it home to your congregation, talk to your leaders about whether the congregation might join. And it means that you as an individual, we hope, will participate in the process and add your input and be part of building the vision. So the Mid-America Board invites you to join us. Thank you, and I apologize for going over.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, I call for a vote. All those in favor, please hold up your cards. Thank you. You may put them down. Those opposed, hold up your cards. I'm seeing none. Those abstained, hold up your cards. I see couple abstentions. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you. And I'm going to now return
Well, you have to say that it's.
the
carried.
motion carried. Thank you. Return responsibility to President Sasso. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do want to say a couple of things about this. The board has a meeting scheduled in May. We'll be working on how to get this process going. As you can see, it's a 2-year time horizon, so we can think how to do it as opposed to getting it done first and then figuring out if that was the right way. And if you might be interested in taking a leadership role in this process, I invite you to email, me, at board@midamericauua.org. I get those emails. It doesn't say president, it says board, but okay. board@midamericauua.org. If you feel like you'd like to be part of the leadership of this, please say something about why you'd like to be part and what skills and experiences you might bring to the process. Thank you so much. Okay, now. Okay. And our next agenda item is a report. I invite the Reverend Cynthia Landrum, Mid-America Region Trustee, to share a report on some proposed changes to the UUA bylaws that will be considered at General Assembly this coming June in Portland, Oregon.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning. I'm up here this morning not to ask you to vote on something and not to tell you how to vote, but to inform you on an upcoming national vote that has implications for and effects on our region. The purpose is so that you can then inform your GA delegates about this vote, and there will be more information about this that will be sent to you electronically and or available on our Mid-America webpage. Right now, there is experimentation across the country. Some regions are keeping districts with district boards and annual meetings. Some are doing like us, moving governance to the regional level and disbanding districts. and some are disbanding governance at both levels and handing that back to the UUA. Our regional board believes there is a purpose for this, for governance at this level. But we realized that we had not yet inherited all the rights that districts have. One example is the ability of districts to put business resolutions on the GA agenda. You see up here a brief explanation of how things get on the GA agenda. There are 4 basic ways: the UUA board or executive committee, by a petition of 15 congregations, by a petition of 25 members, 250 members of congregations, or by a district at its annual meeting, for example. Right now, regions have no rights in this regard. Our board passed a resolution, next slide, saying that we believe that we should inherit the right from the districts that we were comprised of. We sent this resolution to the UUA board. This is the full text of it, but again, this will be available to you electronically. So you can forward on. Whereas, keep going, whereas. Therefore, we recognize that Mid-America Region has inherited the rights and responsibilities of the former districts that now comprise the region. So, the UUA board, in trying to level the playing field and treat every region and districts equally, has decided to put an amendment before the GA Assembly that would remove this right from the districts, specifically the ability to remove several rights from the districts, specifically the ability to put things on the GA agenda and the ability to submit study action issues. This is called a proposal to make the bylaws neutral regarding the governance structure of districts and regions. And it, as I said, it removes the ability to put business resolutions on the GA agenda, and specifically also to submit study action issues. I've highlighted the former, the business resolution process, but perhaps the latter is the more radical. You can imagine, for example, that in the region that contains Ferguson, Missouri, it might be appropriate for our regional assembly to pass a statement of conscience that would go to the General Assembly to vote that Black Lives Matter. The UUA board has some good reasons for this. In particular, they believe that it's in keeping with congregational polity, with policy governance, and that it's fair. So they have given us a statement that highlights their reasoning. They say the various districts and regions have taken a wide variety of approaches. Next slide. That this is to place all regions and districts on an equal footing in the bylaws, regardless of the choices made. Next slide. And next one. And that this proposal is neutral regardless of those decisions of different districts and regions, and it pushes the accountability of identifying items for the GA agenda that are important and should be on the agenda to the member congregations and their elected leaders. So that's their basic logic for making this proposal, and it is fair and good. Next slide. However, as I said, your UUA board has some good reasons for this. In particular, they think it's in keeping with policy governance, with congregational polity, and that it's fair. Your board, your regional board, believes that while it may be equal to treat all regions as if they had chosen to dissolve governance, that stripping these rights does not honor that many, like ourselves, have chosen to retain governance. And we believe that this route provides an important avenue for your congregations to raise the issues important to our part of the association. So again, we are not telling you what to do, but we are asking that you inform your delegates about how this impacts our region. Thank you.
Well, it's not our job to debate this. And I've got a feeling that we could go well into lunch if we tried to debate it. So I think the right thing for us to do is to recognize that this is coming up, to discuss it with our congregations, and to be prepared for debate and discussion at General Assembly. If anyone would like to host a table during lunch where it's discussed among delegates, that would be a wonderful thing. And you're very welcome to let the board know what you think. So again, board@midamericauua.org. We're very happy to have your comments, but in the context, we didn't set this up as a discussion or a debate. Thank you. So, yeah. Okay. Cindy has just said that she would be happy to host a table at lunch for discussion of this. And so if you look for Cindy, she'd love to be in discussion with you around this. Our board will be meeting again in May, so we can take your input into account if we receive it. Thank you. Okay. Now, let's see. There we go. I believe that we have delegates present and other representatives, perhaps, from each of our 4 St. Louis area Unitarian Universalist congregations. These congregations, First Unitarian Church of St. Louis, First Unitarian Church of Alton, Illinois, Elliott Unitarian Chapel in Kirkwood, Missouri, and Emerson Unitarian Universalist Chapel in Ellisville, Missouri. I'd invite those folks to come forward and join me on the podium now if you're in the room. Please come forward. Some folks from those congregations may be present as we live stream, too. I want you up here, however you can, come on up, come all the way up. Okay. We know what happened in Ferguson. A black teenager, Michael Brown, was shot and killed by a white police officer. And that sparked a cycle of intensifying demonstrations opposing violence against people of color, and reminding us that we are still far from achieving racial justice in our nation. People of color are arrested more frequently and are sentenced more harshly than our European Americans for the same offense. Unitarian Universalists all over the nation have responded to these events, but our 4 St. Louis area congregations, whose names are up there, found themselves on what you might call the front line of this particular crisis. Friends, our St. Louis congregations have risen to this challenge. They have engaged the issues of racial justice in their communities. They have often stepped outside some long-established congregational comfort zones. They have been present in Ferguson. They have borne witness in their own communities, holding weekly vigils. It has not been an easy thing, but these congregations have taken risks and have accepted these challenges. They've shared resources, and they have grown closer to each other in this collective effort. When I speak about creating a new era, this is what I'm talking about. Some part of the new era may be achieved through the work of the Mid-America Region staff or the Mid-America Region Board, but the vast majority of it will be achieved through the work of our congregations and groups of our congregations working together. As we take risks, we respond faithfully and courageously, we support each other, and we act together to create the new era. In recognition of this work, the Board of Trustees of the Mid-America Region hereby recognizes these congregations: First Unitarian Church of St. Louis, First Unitarian Church of Alton, Illinois, Elliott Unitarian Chapel, and Emerson Unitarian Universalist Chapel, and presents each of them with a plaque inscribed as follows: Creating a New Era. For exemplary leadership, collaboration, and shared ministry in the cause of racial justice in and beyond St. Louis County. Presented by the Board of Trustees of the Mid-America Region, Unitarian Universalist Association, April 18th, 2015. Will you please join me in celebrating the work of these congregations and honoring their commitment? First St. Louis. Alton. Okay, Ian, which one do you have? Emerson. Do we have anyone from Emerson? Okay, well, actually, I'll give it to you. I'll put that and Elliot back. I'm going to take the one to Emerson myself. I don't live that far away. So, but let's thank them again. It's been a real effort on their part, and it's been a new era that they've been creating. Thank you so much. There are some people completing their service to our region this year, and we need to recognize their service and offer them our very sincere thanks. One of our staff members, Sarah Green, our regional administrator, will retire this year, and I'd like to invite Nancy Hagee of the Mid-America staff to come forward and share her reflections on the impact that Sarah has had during the time she has served us.
As some of you have heard, our full-time regional administrator, Sarah Green, has let us know that she intends to retire from her position on June 30th, 2015. By summer, Sarah will have worked for Prairie Star District and then through the transition to Mid-America Region for 25 years. She started in 1990 as a part-time office assistant with one desk phone and one computer that was shared by 3 people. Things have changed since then. Sarah's work has been exceptional. Over the years, she has worked in support of boards and other staff. She managed the physical office when we had one, handled communications such as mailings, letters, first a paper newsletter, then moved to electronic, directed the work of volunteers, and worked closely with the volunteer committee who developed our web presence. She did much of the financial work and everything else that came her way. When the 3 districts became Mid-America Region, Sarah was hired to be the full-time administrator for the region. She helped us make the transition and didn't miss a beat. Sarah and our other 2 administrative employees, Peggy Bocard and Gretchen Oman, have been a very effective team. Sarah also managed the shutting down of our physical office, handled every detail. Her attention to detail, her management of the timeline of the work, and her dedication to our congregations are extraordinary. Sarah is a committed Unitarian Universalist and a member of Michael Servetus Unitarian Society in Fridley, Minnesota. She has served in many leadership volunteer positions there. Her husband, Chris, spent many years volunteering in various capacities for Prairie Star District, including treasurer, district president, and then president of the District Presidents Association. Together, they have contributed so much to our faith. In her retirement, Sarah intends to spend more time working on family genealogy and visiting with their daughters' families, including 4 grandchildren who live on the East Coast. Sarah is a skilled knitter, and because they have 2 sets of twins in their family, she knits every sweater twice. On a personal note, I will say that I have valued Sarah's support of me, especially when I was a new district executive 20 years ago. She helped me learn what my job was, and she kept me out of trouble. I've appreciated her friendship and her loyalty to the congregations that we serve together. As Bill and Evan and Ian present Sarah with a small gift, please join me in recognizing Sarah Green. Thank you, Sarah, for everything.
Thank you, Nancy. And yes, thank you, Sarah, yet one more time. 3 Mid-America board members also complete their service this year. As some of you may know, our Vice President, Charlotte Preston, resigned in January from her service as Vice President due to health reasons. Those health reasons continue, but at the moment, they're stable, and I'm hopeful that Charlotte is able perhaps to be with us via the live stream, because I'm hopeful that not only you, but also she hears what I'm about to say. Over the past several years, Charlotte and I have worked fairly closely. She's been a wonderful colleague, first as a member of the Prairie Star Board, and more recently in the formation and the activation of the Mid-America region. Her contributions include wonderful leadership in the linchpin group, the group that was doing communications around the consolidation of our 3 districts into our region. Her initiatives with Mid-America have focused on celebrating our congregation's achievements and efforts toward racial justice, anti-oppression, and multiculturalism. Her work has strengthened Mid-America's sense of identity. She has added a great deal of fun and a significant amount of emotion to our board, while at the same time taking it seriously and modeling how we can understand it spiritually. Charlotte, we thank you so very much for your service to Mid-America. We wish you the very best as you face your current challenges. Please let us know how we can support you. Thank you. Please join me in thanking Charlotte. Since Cindy Landrum has just presented a report, we didn't put her picture up while we recognize her, but she too, the Reverend Cynthia Landrum, will also complete her term on the board this coming June 30th. And you've heard Cindy speak just a few minutes ago. And her comments illustrate the type of presence she has added to our board. A presence both open to hearing and appreciating the perspectives of others, and at the same time clear about her own position and articulate in expressing it. Cindy has been most generous with her time and energy. She has often been one of those who has stepped forward when I have asked, now who wants to volunteer to work on that? And beyond volunteering, she has managed to follow through beautifully on her commitments, somehow juggling her board work with the needs of her family and the congregation she serves in Clark Lake, Michigan. Will you please join me in thanking Cynthia Landrum? Looks like a point of personal privilege.
A point of personal privilege. Bill also is going to be retiring. He's going to say a few words about himself, but I wanted to sort of interject. We are going to miss him in a lot of different ways. He has been the cheerleader. He's been worked tirelessly in this wonderful exercise of regional linkage. We wouldn't be here without his efforts. I'm going to miss him. He has this whole meeting scripted, so I know exactly what to say and when to say it. And so I'm going off script, but I'd like to personally thank Bill and have the group here thank him also for his wonderful work. Thank you, my friend. We wouldn't be here without you.
Thank you very much. I was sort of going to recognize myself. It has been an unexpected, but certainly an honor and a privilege to serve as the last president of the Central Midwest District and the first president of the Mid-America region. I want to thank each one of you for your support and your participation, for your trust and your confidence, for your willingness to express the things that you thought we needed to know about what we thought we were doing. And most of those have been really fun conversations. And even the ones that weren't, there was somebody who really cared about something and wanted to be heard. And I'm glad that this feels like an organization where it's not too big for your concerns to be heard. I think we've made a very good transition from our predecessor districts to the region. I'm very excited about what can happen in the years to come, and I want to thank all of you for the honor of serving in this role. Thank you. And now I'd like to ask our regional staff lead person, the Reverend Dr. Ian Evison, to come forward and share with us some closing words.
Well, once again, I want to thank you. There was a time, I'm a sucker for self-improvement schemes. And there was a time in my life where I thought a way to make myself better, some sermon I heard from somewhere said, you should get up each day and sort of count what you have to be thankful for. And I kind of worked on this as a discipline. And a thing I realized recently, in recent years, is that I find myself just spontaneously being thankful, not because I'm making myself. And a lot of it has been the work with this region. And I want you all to understand how important what you do is. For some of you who've taken large roles, for some of you who've taken small roles. I think, for example, of last year's having one assembly in 4 places. Now, that was a crazy idea.
Amen.
Yeah. And the spirit in which you all were willing to step into that as an experiment, not necessarily something you wanted to do again soon, but as an experiment, really helps us all be more courageous in trying the next thing. And so I thank you for the spirit you have accepted all these things in. And I want you to understand that what we can do as a staff or board is mostly to create a structure in which we all try things. And this, the first regional assembly in one place, is another such thing. And I hope that you take home not so much how to do it from what we did here, but the spirit of trying things and experimenting and seeing what will work in your own context. And I have faith that no matter how large the issues are that confront us or how difficult, that if we can approach them in that spirit and with mutual support of each other, that we can find a way forward. Thank you.
Before we adjourn, we have a brief announcement, or well, we have an announcement.
It's a really long one. No, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to let you all know that there was some confusion over the workshops. There have been different things in different places, but what you have in your packet, the location of all the workshops, is where they are, and you can go to the ones you thought you signed up for. If you want to switch, you don't need to ask our permission, just go to what you want to go to. But the locations listed there are the correct ones, and the signs are also on the outside of the room. So thank you all.
We have lunch at 12:15.
It's ready outside, yeah.
Lunch is ready outside, so I wonder if anyone might care to make a motion to adjourn. Okay, moved by Tom Sommerfeld of Northwoods Fellowship. Do we have a second? Sunshine Wolf of, Sean Dennison of Tree of Life in McHenry. Would all in favor of adjourning please raise their voting cards? Okay, thank you. Would anyone opposed to adjourning please raise, okay, I see one. Okay, are there any more? Okay. The motion carries, the meeting is adjourned. See you next year, thank you.